This briefing focuses on the Netherlands. The goal of this presentation is to inform you on various aspects of that country in preparation for your upcoming investment decision. There are many aspects of a country that may be relevant to potential investment decisions, and the various languages of a country is the first of such issues. Similarities and/or differences in languages can have a substantial impact on a firm's ability to communicate with local customers, suppliers, and even employees. While most Australians will be aware that Dutch is the primary language of the Netherlands, they may not be aware that Dutch and English share a common origin and are classified in the same language subgroup, closer to each other than, say, English and French. For example, more than 180 common English words are taken directly from the Dutch language. For many English speakers, basic Dutch, when written, looks recognizable, though the pronunciation may be markedly different. The American author Bill Bryson is quoted as saying, "When one hears Dutch, one feels one ought to be able to understand it." Moreover, there is a tradition of learning foreign languages in the Netherlands, and about 70% of the total population has a good working knowledge of English, and it is acceptable to correspond in English for business purposes. A second issue which can influence a firm's ability to conduct business in a foreign country is the dominant religion. Religion has a potentially powerful impact on people's value systems and can influence how they behave and interact with one another. In terms of religious affiliation, there are many similarities between Australia and the Netherlands. Both countries support a broad plurality of religions and denominations, with a reasonably heavy skew to a range of Protestant denominations and Roman Catholicism. Moreover, while both countries are nominally Christian, they are both relatively secular, with a high proportion of their populations claiming no religious affiliation. A third factor which may influence a company's ability to conduct business in a foreign country is the level of industrial development. This not only influences the cost of labor in a country and the consumption patterns, but it also arguably shapes the attitudes, values, and behaviors of the population in general. In terms of the level of economic and industrial development, Australia and the Netherlands are very similar. This holds true whether you measure it in terms of GDP per capita, the prominence of the manufacturing and service sectors, the ownership level of motor vehicles, or the consumption of goods such as newspapers. These similarities ease the transfer of business to the Netherlands. A fourth important issue is the similarities and/or differences in the educational systems of countries. The education systems for Australia and the Netherlands are of similar high quality, with literacy rates approaching 99% in both countries. Educational opportunities are open to all people and offer opportunities for all age groups and levels of ability. Thus, overall, the education systems of the two countries are very similar. A fifth critical issue with respect to doing business in another country is similarities and/or differences in the legal and political systems. Like Australia, the Netherlands is both a parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarchy. In both countries, the monarch is largely a ceremonial role and has minimal political power. In both countries, the Prime Minister is the effective head of government. This means few political and legal differences exist between the countries. A sixth but potentially more subtle issue is similarities and/or differences in actual business practices. This can involve simple but potentially embarrassing issues, such as how to properly greet people and attitudes towards time. As similar European cultures, there is a large overlap in business practices between Australia and the Netherlands. As in Australia, punctuality is important in Dutch business culture. They also like neither giving nor receiving large gifts, which can often be interpreted as bribery. The Dutch also respect qualities such as straightforwardness and honesty. In this culture, as in Australia, directness is preferred to evasiveness. Also, the Dutch are generally uncomfortable with secrets. Lastly, as in Australia, direct eye contact is felt to be a sign of sincerity. The seventh and final issue is the broader set of cultural values which are commonly shared by a large portion of a country's population. Countries can vary in terms of the emphasis placed on individuality versus conformity, the attitudes towards uncertainty and ambiguity, the attitudes towards authority and social inequities, and not the least, attitudes towards how gender roles are allocated in society. Australians and the Dutch share similar cultural values. While there are small differences, they are both individually focused cultures, with low levels of power distance. This means that relationships between individuals and between employers and employees is similar. They also have nearly the same level of uncertainty avoidance, meaning that both cultures are relatively comfortable with ambiguity. This concludes our presentation